And you can even tell just the way Keith's came in. They start to...
That was an accident.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast, powered by DeerCast and some Phorm energy.
You know what? I just saw that they are now Phorm Energy. They partnered up with Anheuser-Busch and Dana White, and they launched basically kind of a rebrand and launched some new flavors and kind of tweaked the flavors they got. And like the distribution, and it's like mass distribution now. It's pretty cool to see what that's grown into. So
because the energy drinks have only been around for maybe 4 years tops at this point.
Yeah.
And it's a huge market. There's lots of options out there, but yeah, that's kind of like the kids like to sip on mine. Like on Sunday mornings when we go to church, we pass it around.
Are you serious?
A little bit. Yeah.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Father of the Year award. I lost that. Like I was out of the running in January.
You were ever in it? I wasn't. No. So your son's here with us today. He's in the audience. He's in the, hold on. Let me get the audience applause sound. Where's our applause sound? It's gone.
Oh, we have an audience of one today.
Well,
yeah.
so
it's summer
like
break. Nice. We could start doing our own sound effects.
That's right. So we're going to keep it PG first of all, but I did just hand him a
handful of
Starburst from Jim Richmond's desk.
It was like 8:45 in the morning. Dad's general rule is no candy before noon, but
I'm not his dad.
Matt comes through and here, kid, eat up.
Yeah. So, but anyways, this weekend, real quick, it's Summer Smash in St. Louis for First Phorm. So
you gonna get smashed?
I'm gonna have a good time. Last year was the first time I had gone, and they always invite us, both of us, and you've gone a few times, and you've said how awesome it is, and it never worked up my schedule, and last year it did, and it was awesome. It's a cool time. Private event. They got golden tickets to get into it and all that stuff. I don't know, maybe a few thousand people go.
Yeah. By default, it ended up being the kids' first concert.
Yeah.
And it was Ludacris.
Stand back.
So again, Father of the Year is out of the question for me. You texted me those lyrics.
Yeah.
Because I was texting you like, hey, Ludacris is here. And you texted me, and then I don't know if this is how lame I am or how like accommodating you are, but you were like, those are lyrics to one of his songs. So I didn't think that you were just saying, move, get out the way.
Yeah.
Why is Matt being so mean to me right now?
A lot of exclamation points.
Why do I need to move?
So speaking of move, you moved your way up north to Canada and you moved your way back south after a successful bear hunt. Did you like that segue, Tim?
Yeah. It wasn't good.
I thought it was.
You're moving your existence to a different country, a farther north country.
I'm going to move off this podcast. But no, so you're back, successful hunt. I look forward to hearing the full story.
Yeah. So got me a passport because I just hadn't needed one to this point. Got into...
oh, wait. Ever?
I mean, I went to Mexico back in the early 2000s, but that was before you needed a passport.
You boys like Mexico.
I love that.
Great movie.
Yes. So a lot of the people that listen know I'd never bear hunted before, but our friends at Canada in the Rough, Keith Beasley specifically, invited me up on a hunt at Cameron Lake's fishing outfitters or fishing lodges. They primarily focus on walleye fishing, and they're off grid. Like there's no electrical like hookups that come in. Everything is run off generators.
Were you in a tent or a cabin?
It was a cabin, but up there everything is repurposed. So like you can see that they've taken different parts of other buildings and built these really nice cabins. They call them cottages up there.
Fancy.
But it was just enough to like a nice comfortable place to stay. They had a shower house. They graciously let us on their Starlink Wi-Fi, which was still pretty limited.
What?
Well, just in terms of access, like the lodge is the campground is pretty big, and they just had an access point in their home. Okay. So like I had a little bit of connectivity every now and again if I got close enough.
But there you got fast internet, right?
Well, no, like there, because the router was in their home and we were like at a different part of the Wi-Fi. So there was no cell data anywhere. There was no cell, there was no voice. No, like you're really off the grid there. And it's amazing just how important fuel is, because there's like, you either have to boat your way into town or drive a couple hours to get to town on logging roads, washouts.
Yeah,
and it's
I saw that one.
Yeah. It was like, we drug that trailer through that washout. It totally high centered a couple times. So, it's just a very different, like they kept saying we're going to Northern Ontario, but when you look at the map, it's like less than halfway up Ontario. Now, and I said, this wouldn't be Northern Ontario. And they said, there's no roads. There's nothing up there above you. So the only way anyone's getting in up there is by float plane.
Roads.
So where we're going,
we don't need roads.
Another great movie. That's right. So I got into Ontario, which was, I thought they lost my bow.
I saw that.
I was freaked out.
They just misplaced it though.
They misplaced it. I got it after probably an hour and a half. Customs took it. Air Canada didn't know where it was. Some guy popped his head out of the oversized luggage carousel and he was like, "Hey, you waiting for something?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a tan bow case." He's like, "With black handles?" "Yes." Well, that's going to be put down by the water fountain down by E18. So just go down there and stand and wait. So I walked down by this nondescript water fountain, and there's like a bunch of people around who English is not their native language. And I'm trying to ask like, "Hey, I'm waiting for, I don't know. Like nothing comes out here." It was such a friggin' goose chase. Finally, I met some guy that said, "It's possible it's in customs." So he walked me through the security checkpoint, and I go in this really kind of private room, and there's a big cage in the back of it, and there's armed police officers around, and my bow case is sitting in that cage. And I tell the lady officer, I was like, "Hey, I'm here to get my case," and she's like, "I need to see all your documentation for it."
Well, actually, I have a passport.
I'm from America. There's no documentation for a bow. I told her it's archery equipment. And she was like, "Oh, so you don't need..." She didn't know the rules. She didn't know the laws.
Perfect.
I cased it up like a gun just to be extra careful.
But it's not locked, right?
I locked it, but it's a TSA lock. Yeah.
Anytime I've ever traveled with a firearm or something, and I've used the TSA locks, they cut the locks off. They are not cut. They open them up. They never leave the locks. Did you get your locks back?
I had 2 locks. I ended up with 1.
It's amazing to me. It's like, this is the whole point of a TSA lock.
Yep.
And I never get them back.
And normally they slide a little note in your case that says, "We opened it up." Yeah. There was no note in this. So after waiting around for that, I finally got it. And
did you just kind of say, "I'm an American.
Don't you know who I am?" I asked if
I'm going to call Trump. they would love that right now.
Oh, boy.
Sore subject.
That really is a thing.
I know
it really is.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of Canadian flags up there, and I wondered if they were like recently thrown up.
Yeah.
Most people are pissed at Trump because he swung the election towards
the
leftist progressive.
Yeah.
It kind of took it away from the guy on the right that was in the lead for a while. Anyway, I get to Peterborough, meet up with Keith, super hospitality, but it's a 14-hour trip in the truck from Peterborough. How long was the flight? 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From here to Ontario?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ontario is further south than some places in Michigan.
You're assuming I don't know where it's at on the map.
Right. Well, watch the movie.
That's a big assumption, Tim.
Watch the movie Canadian Bacon, and you'll have a better understanding of the geography.
Okay.
John Candy, Rhea Perlman.
I know where Alberta is.
Okay. All right.
I've been there.
Well, Ontario's nowhere near it.
It's to the right?
I'm going to get you into DeerCast maps and cruising around Canada a little bit more. But I was like, 14 hours? Is it really?
That's a haul, man. That'd be going to the tip of Florida from here, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
No.
So
I've driven to Alabama. That's as far as I've driven. And that was, I don't know.
Probably 8
with
to
kids,
10?
it was 10, 11.
Yeah.
What I take for granted about the U.S. is that our interstate system goes everywhere. Like there's pretty much a straight shot to anything. Up there, we had to go like 2 hours north of the place where we were going to be hunting to hit that Trans-Canadian Highway, then come down.
Man, that's a lot of... And so I'm sure the guys were great, obviously, that you were with, but you're also with people you've met for 5 minutes at a trade show.
I don't have a great personality, so I don't have a lot to like.
I bet there's a lot of awkward silence. Terrible jokes along the way.
Keith is a total extrovert, and he's been doing that show for 22 years.
Yeah,
been all across everywhere we met. It's like, hey, Beasley Brothers, and
yeah, they're pretty famous up there.
Well, and for me, it was like, I mean,
Tim,
Drury Outdoors
podcast.
Ever hear of it?
Have a podcast.
Right. I have a YouTube channel, so. But no, it was so much fun, and Mike has been a producer for them for 22 years. He's filmed so much, and then Jonah was their other field producer, and he does social too. But he's 18; he's right out of high school, and it was just a really fun crew. That 14 hours actually went pretty quickly in the truck. We had a lot of
straight
fun.
Shot, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we would stop for meals and stuff, but it was like we're going.
Yeah,
but also you're hauling a trailer, so 60, 65 miles an hour, you're not going to break any speed limits with that.
Depends who's driving the trailer.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't see the sun for 3 days. And it was like the highs were in the mid 40s.
Sound like a Kid Rock song.
So that was
Sheryl Crow.
I took you.
That's right.
Put your picture away.
Yeah,
that's a good one too. Yeah, so I hadn't been hunting very long, and Mike and I were on our way, and it was an archery bear hunt. We sent them some muddy non-cell cameras because again, there's no cell data up there, and they checked the cameras. When on our way in, we actually hung some sets and checked some cards. And I hadn't been hunting very long. Mike and I were walking into my set, and he was like, "Hey, this bear could be here." There were 3 bears on this one particular site, and one of them, like we actually saw on the trail camera pictures, him fighting off the other 2 bears. So we had a dominant bear for one particular site that was pretty hot, and we're walking down the trail, and Mike spins around at me, and he was like, "He's here. The big one's here."
How did he know?
Well, he could see him at the barrel. Like we had the wind in there. Well, there was scat, and that's another funny thing is that old school scouting is still such a part of their woodsmanship. When they're driving along these logging roads, they'll be looking for piles of scat, and they can tell about how big a bear is by the size of its scat. Same thing with people, by the way. But they will drive over the scat when they see it.
These bears are eating like donuts and candy. I mean, poor diet.
What I learned was that when they come out of hibernation, at least in this area, they go to grass, like more so than even the baits. And it's something about the grass that breaks up what was in their stomach all winter long. So the acids or something, but they go to that grass first, and then they start hitting baits. And we were just on the cusp of them transitioning from grass to hitting the bait. So there's kind of a timing and a science to that.
Sure.
But when they're driving around, they will run over piles of scat to like delete it and say like, okay, we checked that one. And then anything that's new shows up as a new pile on the road.
I just picture them walking through the woods and like, oh, there's some, and goes jump in it.
Well, when they're driving along, and they drive fast on these logging roads, they're like swerving to hit a pile of crap. And anyway, I told Mike, I was like, I'm okay with trying to spot and stalk if you want to try to film over my shoulder. And he's like, we've never done that. We've always talked about it, but yeah, let's try it. And it's hard to appreciate this until you get into that forest, how thick everything is. because you have all these tall or all these really slender not aspens, birch trees, and then all the spruce trees, and then like a bunch of scraggly stuff growing up in between.
Underbrush.
Yeah. So I got within 40, and there still wasn't a really clear shot at this bear. And he's like sitting up, laying down, walking around. He's not sitting still.
You're on the ground.
On the ground, yeah. And he kind of bumps back into the timber. So Mike and I use that as our opportunity to get back over to the stand and get up. I climb up before Mike gets up. The bear's back.
Oh, wow.
And I'm mic'd up with a wireless lav mic, so I can talk to Mike. And I'm like, I got a
producer
shot
that actually uses his headphones.
Yeah,
that's a
neat.
novel idea in our camp.
This guy's a total professional. Like we got everything. But I was like, I'll take a shot. Like he's like, this would be awesome. We've never had kind of a 2-angle shot on a bear. So for 19 minutes, I'm waiting for this bear to get in a good position. And I came to full draw at least 3 different times. Oh. It was a different kind of nervousness. Because on a whitetail, you get a few seconds maybe when especially if you're hunting in the timber, to make your shot. But this was almost like, eventually he's probably going to give you a good shot. But he could walk too at any point. So I'm kind of whispering to Mike, like, okay, I think he's good. But he literally went through he was sitting, he was laying down, he was walking.
How far away is he?
It was a 23-yard.
Oh, wow. And the producer's on the ground?
He's on the ground. And he's just eating this bear up with his camera. Like it's great. And
I assume just like whitetails, you're looking for quartering away vitals. Although with bear, I mean, I know guys, you could take that frontal shot, can't you?
You can. Because those front legs are so much. I mean, they're like mine. They're huge. Those bones in there are huge, and the musculature around it. They want you to like. We agreed no frontal shots, quartering away, like you said, or broadside. And everything is shifted just a little bit farther back. On a whitetail, the heart is kind of like right between the front legs. On the bear, you take, I don't know, maybe 4 inches back, and it's right behind where the front legs are. So it's actually exposed. So I waited, and when I came to full draw on him, the other thing that was really difficult was, 2 things were going through my mind. One, we talked about it on the show a few weeks back. Don't take the first bear that comes in, because you're probably going to see something bigger, or you may misjudge it. But having Mike there was nice because he's like, that's a really good bear. And I mean, from on the production side, if you have a chance to kill an animal that you would kill on the last hunt, you should take it
for sure.
So I'm like, I felt no regret about shooting the first bear I saw. But being a full draw and having your pin hovering just on a sea of black.
Yeah.
And there's no
real
landmark
definition there. It looks the same from front to back.
Yes. Yeah. Like on a deer, you've got that white line that's between the white and the brown on the belly. You've got the
kind
shoulder that you can
almost,
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people say middle of middle on a bear. The Beasleys are like, no, not so much. You can actually shoot them. You should shoot them a little more like a whitetail, like shift everything a little bit forward from middle of middle. Anyway, this bear finally stands up and he's walking to my right, and he's kind of like turned a little bit. So like your dad says, like curled around or whatever. And I let him have it. And it's a really graphic shot. Excuse me. It's probably enough to where they're going to have to cut around it for the show, because the broadhead, as it's entering, clips the stomach. So immediately you see like a splash of gut material. And
so was it low?
Not really. You see a splash of gut material and like guts come out of the hole. What it's a little harder to see is a big splash of blood that shoots out of his chest because the arrow goes up, clips the heart, and comes out like right in the center of his chest and hits his arm, leg, whatever. And he bounds a couple steps, rolls over on his back, and is like grabbing. It was a little eerie, like someone falling over and trying to get back up, and he's just pouring blood out of his chest. And then kind of turns towards Mike and starts bounding towards Mike, and then turns and cuts back into the woods, blowing blood all over the place the whole way. And then in under a minute, he was doing the death moan.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe crashed 30 yards from where he was shot.
Awesome.
And both Mike and I are looking at each other.
Disbelief.
I guess that just happened. We're
done.
That's done. It was unreal to see an apex predator like that so close, to be in the same woods with them, to know there are more around, to know that an arrow that you sent just completely wrecked this monster of an animal. It was, like he said, I have such a better appreciation for bear hunting. Because I'd gone out and I sat another night and didn't see anything. So it wasn't like they're just raccoons are all over the place. They definitely clock you. They check their wind, and eyesight's not great. But it was amazing. I couldn't believe it. And you've been a guest in hunting camps before where like there's some pressure to make the shot.
Yeah.
And you've like there's been a lot of expense to get you there and time and everything and people's hospitality. So it's nice to be like, if you have one little part, it's nice when you can deliver on that.
Yeah, because I mean, the outfitter, they're running a business. The Canadian the Rough, they have a show. Like you're wanting to live up to your side of the deal for everybody.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that the outfitters were involved, and so the lodge is owned by Michelle and Angela Chouinard, and they're total like French Canadians. They interchange their French with their English. Super people. They've got 2 kids, Dylan and Amanda, and they kind of help out with the operation too. So before I even went and laid hands on that, well, first off, I should say the death moan, Mike cut his camera as the bear was starting. Like we were doing an interview and he just cut the camera because it's really disconcerting. Like it's not something that you're going to air on television, and their show is on a major Canadian network. So it'd be like ABC, CBS, NBC having hunting shows. They're on. So they have to be even more kind of buttoned down when it comes to who's consuming their, and they shoot it documentary style.
Gotcha.
But like for me to hear that, it was both relief and eeriness, because
relief knowing that it's done.
It was a good, ethical, clean shot. He's done. We did it, kind of thing.
But explain what's going on there.
So I've heard it explained as it's the last breath leaving the bear.
Oh,
but mine, I don't know, maybe did 3 or 4 different death moans. So he would have had to taken a few breaths. So it's one of the last.
So they're already past and doing it? No, it's the like, final moments.
Yeah. Which like I definitely want to research more on what causes the death moan, because it's bizarre.
Huh.
It's really strange.
Can you mimic what it sounded like? Hey, you guys.
This hurts.
Well, that's thanks for sharing that.
I told you. Disconcerting.
Yeah. A little bit.
So I
mean that look, that's part of nature. I mean, it's part of, you're not going out there. It is disconcerting, but that's part of it. You're not out there playing grab ass. It's you're taking a life. And I already saw you've already been feeding. We'll get into all that, I'm sure, but you've already cooked some of the bear, grilled it. It's not for nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the disconnect that we as a society that depends on someone else killing our food for us have no idea there's something at the end of it that had to die. Yeah. And so it's good to be grounded, I think, every once in a while in reality of what takes place. And if you don't have a sense of like, you probably got other problems.
Yeah. And for me, I feel like if that bear's going to do that, I need to hear it.
Yeah.
Because I did that. Yeah. And Sophie wanted to hear what a death moan sounded like. So we went on YouTube and found a clip. And even my brother was over at the house. He's like, can you turn that off? I can't listen to that.
He's a big teddy bear.
he's a tender guy. Sophie's like, I want to do that to a bear. But yeah, it's like, Michelle, the lodge owner, was talking about how animals up there, like that's the way to go. Otherwise, because they have Timberwolves, they consume an animal alive. Oh. So a moose breaks a leg, or a bear gets old and can't fight anymore, or whatever, it gets eaten alive.
Do they have a lot of Timberwolves?
Yes. You don't see them.
Sure. They're ghosts,
but they run in packs and they are definitely around. And they just follow the moose during the...
Did you guys hear any or no?
No, the first night we started hearing some loons on the lake.
What's a loon?
It's a waterfowl. They have a really distinct call.
Can you do that one?
I cannot do that one. That one's I won't even try. But folks who know the Northwoods know the loon is kind of like a symbol of the Northwoods.
Okay.
If you heard it, you would know. You've heard it in a bunch of movies and stuff. But yeah, it's brutal. Like life is brutal up there. They get 6 feet of snow every year.
Was there any of that melted by then?
2 weeks prior.
Okay.
So 3 weeks ago, they had snow and they had ice.
Because I'm sure it was still fairly chilly at night and temperatures dropped.
Yeah, the first 3 days we were there, the highs were in the mid 40s, the lows were in the 30s.
Yeah.
And they had just had a freeze a few days before that killed off all the black flies and mosquitoes that had come through. They were amazed because then we had 80s and sun, and they were like, you wouldn't be able to stand outside right now under normal circumstances.
Just be covered.
Because the mosquitoes would carry you away. I started to see, like, as we were leaving, they were coming back, and they would literally just pile on the screens of the cottages because they could smell the CO2 inside from the people. They're huge. And they're, normally a wind kind of cuts mosquitoes down. Yeah. These suckers could fly in a gale.
Like drones.
They were serious. So thankfully I didn't get to experience that part.
Good. That's good.
The other part of most spring bear hunts is head nets to keep the mosquitoes out of your eyes and stuff, and thermocells but yeah, so it was just an incredible experience. Then we spent probably 4 hours on it the next morning, butchering it, and having Mike there again, who's butchered a lot, and he's a foodie, so he knows all the cuts and knows how to prepare them. That was another education that was really cool, and we got a bunch of bear fat. I think we got a picture of Mike.
I saw that,
holding a big chunk of bear, and everyone around camp kept asking, "What you gonna take that home, or are you gonna leave it, or
wear it home?
Can we have it?"
So what are they? I know there's probably a million uses for it. What is their main use for the bear fat?
You render it.
Yeah.
And so it kind of clarifies.
Bear grease or whatever, is that where that comes from? The bear fat, or no, is it somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I know that's a podcast, it's a brand and everything. I'm not sure where that comes from, but rendered bear fat is clear, like it's like golden colored. People use it for skin moisturizer, reconditioned leather boots, cooking. Yeah, it's supposed to have a lot of health benefits.
I'm sure the natives up there have 1,000 uses for it.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah, we pelted it out. I'm gonna power wash it and probably salt the hide.
So how did you bring that stuff home? I know there was
that's a whole other thing.
Which I want to get into that. We got Matt and Tim's Bad Take coming up here, and I think that'd be the place to cover that because of what happened there with you at the airport.
Yeah, for sure.
And that I guess that'll be a good segue into Matt and Tim's Bad Take once you get to that point.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know how many pounds of meat we ended up with.
I mean, couple hundred or
not that much, but maybe close to 100.
100.
And I also,
how big was the bear?
They estimated north of 220.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I didn't know if it's 400. I had no idea.
Yeah, like I too, like I was like, I don't care. He's a good mature bear. He was the king of the jungle for that area. But I would like to know. And I think Michelle, the lodge owner, said that he thought maybe it was a 4-year-old bear or so.
And what's a typical, what's a good age class?
That I mean that's a mature.
Like 6, 7, really old? Or?
I don't know like what that prime range is, but I do know that they saw a 300 plus pound cinnamon bear, which they don't get. Like this part of Ontario bear is not known for its color. It's different colored bears. So that really got everyone in camp kind of jazzed. Keith shot one. I think Keith said he thought his was maybe around 270. And you can even tell just the way Keith's came in, they start to...
That was an accident. my hand hit the...
I mean, he had been eating a lot of trail mix and other goodies there.
Sorry, my hand hit the soundboard.
But they like their arms kind of turned in when they walked. Could have been me a little bit. They got footage of us. They got a bunch of red squirrels up there, and they bait the containers with like old trail mix and popcorn and stuff. Squirrel went into the container and got like a big red jawbreaker and came out and just was
that's funny.
Going to town.
They got footage of that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
But you can tell
nature diabetes one jawbreaker at a time.
I mean, you got to think for a squirrel that's like scraping and clawing for a nut finds a jawbreaker out there. That's gold for months.
This sugar. Think of how hyper it is.
It's on hummingbird speed. But you can tell a difference between my 220 and Keith's 270. Just the way they walked. Gotcha. And they were on the skinning poles at the same time. So just kind of the stature. It made me think about a 300 plus bear. And I think Keith's best is almost like a 498.
That's huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching, like I wanted to be a part of the field dressing. I wanted to be part of caping it out and butchering it. And it took a lot of time. It was nice. They just got their butchering shed finished for us. So we had a nice place free of bugs to go in and work and everything, and a deep freezer to throw the meat into. But they also have like on the top of their heads, I don't think it's called cheek meat, but there's 2 like muscle groups. And I think Keith mentioned it in our previous episode with him.
Yeah.
That as the bears get older, they tend to get kind of a crease down the center of the head. Well, that's those 2 muscle groups getting larger as the bear gets older.
That's the part that John Candy shot off. Or no,
well, that was on the butt.
No, but
he made it bald. Yeah.
Originally, that bear was shot in the cheek meat
with the gun lamp.
Yeah.
So we pulled those off, and I cleaned the skull because I'm gonna Euro the skull. And when you pull the skull apart, you see just how they were created to bite. It's like a vice.
The jaw and
just the way their jaw is like structurally designed, engineered for power and strength and all the musculature that goes around it. And they've got such gnarly canines that come down, plus all that power. It's like, man, most of the time these things are eating vegetable matter, berries and grass and stuff, donuts. But if they want to tear into meat, they are definitely equipped for it. And their claws, like I thought maybe their claws would be big but dull because they're always walking. They don't retract like a cat's. They were sharp.
Yeah,
it was like
your picture. It looked like it.
They would like if you ran it down your arm, it would leave marks. Just
so compared to your hand size, how big was the paw?
And I've got big hands. It's other people have mentioned that. So mine was probably a little bit bigger than my hand splayed out. Keith was a little bit bigger than that. Just the power behind him. It was unreal.
It's cool.
So
pretty neat experience.
Oh my gosh. I just kept playing it over and over in my head. And they kept apologizing because I didn't have a whole lot of time in the stand hunting because I killed so early in the trip. I was like, guys, I am over the moon to have taken a mature bear, a good shot. We recovered him right away. I'm good.
Sure.
I'm super happy.
Yeah. Like what else? I'd rather it go down that way.
Yes. Yeah. Because then still we had, because it's shot documentary style, we had a bunch of stuff to film to kind of build the full story. So the next 2 days, even after my kill, we were still filming stuff for the hunt.
Yeah.
Shooting the bows and getting sighted in and just all kinds of additional. So we were working just from that one bear kill. We still had like 2 more days worth of shooting to do.
How long were you up there?
I got there on a Friday night and then we left the following Friday morning.
Oh, long trip.
So, 2 days of travel on either side.
Mm-hmm.
I got home this past Saturday around 1:00 in the afternoon. I laid down and fell asleep at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Woke up Monday.
Woke up at 9:00 that night for an hour and then went back to bed and slept a full night.
Yeah. That's that travel like that's kind of draining.
Yeah. It really was. But that's probably a good segue into the bad take because the travel was.
Yeah. Okay. So get into the travel portion before we jump into the bad take. And you had, you mentioned bringing the pelt back. Sounds like you brought the skull back. I'm sure the paws. I'm sure there were several elements of this. The meat, obviously.
Yeah.
So what's that process look like?
So there are different levels of export permits, and this is one of the things that I think intimidates people. It definitely intimidated me because you want to cross your T's, dot your I's. When you're doing something like this, I'd purchase an export permit, which was probably overkill for just bringing meat back. Because as long as it comes back with you, I think you're good. But I wanted to bring the artifacts from the bear. Fun fact: bears have a bone in their male genital part.
That's what she said.
Yep. And it's apparently
an actual bone.
It's a bone.
Okay.
Yep. And it's a thing to keep them.
Oh, hey, hold on.
But y'all don't say that.
Mine was about the size of I don't know.
Don't say it.
Okay.
Okay. How big?
It was probably 5 inches.
I don't think so, Tim.
Hey, I didn't get the tape measure out, but I know 5 inches when I see 5 inches. But that required a special.
Really?
It's called a sites export
For
permit.
perverts.
And I didn't have that.
Pervert permit.
And some of the guys in camp were like, just throw it in the cooler. Just like, whatever. And I was like, I am not going to get tagged over bringing something like that back into the U.S. without the right permitting.
Hey, we got a permit. Hey, we got a pervert. Hey.
No word of a lie. So I left. Someone took it.
What?
Like it was on a little desk by where we were skinning. It was gone.
Did you find it?
No, I didn't look for it either, but either got pitched or someone took it. And the way that people are kind of hovering around that thing, I think someone probably just, when they heard that I had no interest in taking it, they probably helped themselves, which I don't care.
I have a lot to say, but I'm not going to say any of it.
It's kind of it was a camp full of dudes mostly.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So I had done everything and probably then some to bring back everything.
How much did that permit cost you?
The meat, the general export was $35.
Oh, yeah,
which was not a big deal. The sites export was going to be more, and it takes time for like a local agent to sign off on it. It's just a
you did
a
or did
bigger
not
process.
have that one?
I did not do that one.
Okay, that was an overkill.
That would have been required to bring back that genital bone.
Okay,
Didn't need that. So I kind of done everything I needed to do. I bought a big Coleman cooler while we were up there just to throw everything in, kind of something cheap that I could get everything back. When I got to the airport in Toronto, I was, I had 2 oversized things. I had my bow case and I had the big Coleman. It was like, the coffin size Coleman. And the lady made sure to tell me. She was super friendly, super nice. But when she asked, she was like, "Oh, what's in the case?" And I was like, "It's archery equipment." Oh, well, I don't know. I'll have to call someone over. So she's like motioning for her supervisor to come over. I'm like, "Oh, great. Now what is what's the problem going to be?" And they're like literally whispering to each other. It's to the point where I can't hear. And I said, "Is there a problem, guys? Like, what's going on?" "Well, we've just never done this before." I said, "You've never checked a bag that has archery equipment?"
That
"No,
shocks me. And
never done that."
I mean, you would think that they see hunters come through there a decent amount, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would think so. Because even when I declared my baggage, I declared my cooler as hunting bounty. There is an option for hunting bounty. So we get through the bow case. That's going to be oversized, but we get through that. And then she's like, "Okay, what's in the cooler?" And I said, "Meat." And I just see her eyes get big. "Well, what do you mean meat?" Is like, meat.
There's a dead guy in there.
The bear.
What do you mean?
From the bear that I hunted while I was here. And then she was like, "Oh, I don't like sport hunting. I don't think that it's right. I could never do that." And I said, "Well, this bear is going to feed my family for the next few months." So
a few months, that'd be a year's worth. I mean, people are so stuck on themselves. Like, okay, what do you do in your life that I don't agree with? Let's what are you up to in your personal life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, okay, cool. You don't have to agree with it.
Well, and going through TSA, going through any kind of baggage check, my nerves are a little bit heightened because it's like, I don't want to, set off some kind of alarm. I don't want to get flagged. That, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. You don't have a whole lot of control. And so to inject her personal opinion on what I'm doing just wasn't helpful.
Did you push back at all or just take it and be like, all right?
Well, that's why I told her. I was like, well, this meat, like I've got the pelt in here. I'm gonna finish it off and keep it around my house. We're using every part of this animal, and it's gonna feed my family for a couple months. And that kind of softened her a little bit, but it put it out there that I'm not like, you're trying to get this through me, and I'm not friendly to what you've done.
Well, she miscategorized it right out of the gate by calling it sport hunting. You're eating what you...
And believe me, my mind was like
I
going
bet.
through, like, I don't know anyone that's I don't even know what sport hunting is. And if it's what I think it is, it's against the law just to go out and kill stuff, to be killing it. I don't know anyone that does that. I know a lot of hunters, but I was like,
it's not worth it.
Yeah. And so her and this other guy are whispering back and forth on what they should do. And I had my punched tag in a Ziploc bag in the cooler. I had my export permits with everything listed out in the cooler. I didn't say anything because she didn't even know that I needed all that stuff. And I wasn't going to open up another Pandora's box of, oh, there's documentation. Oh, what kind of documentation? I just kept my mouth shut. Let them deal with the discomfort of me standing. Finally, they had a special sticker that had hunting bounty on it, and they put it on there. It's like they're literally going through a manual on how to do all this stuff.
It just shocks me that I guess that specific person had not been through it before.
Yeah. I kept telling her, I declared this as hunting bounty. It's an option on your system to do this.
Do you want to fight?
So I shoved her. Her name was Shoshito.
Yoshito.
Spelled Xiotchl. It means flower.
So native background?
Native to Bolivia or Peru or something.
Oh.
There's not I didn't run into a single native Canadian working in Toronto airport. It was like I landed in the Middle East somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point, I guess, about Toronto. I mean, that's a gigantic city. What is it? It's got to be one of the top 5 or 10 in the world, isn't it?
It's huge. It's definitely huge.
I've been through there a few times. That airport's gigantic too.
And they've had pretty much unfettered immigration, and it's just like a different world when you go there. But thankfully, I didn't breathe a sigh of relief until I was at Lambert and I saw my stuff come through the oversized
Good old
luggage.
St.
I'm like,
Louis.
ah,
I made it.
thank you. Yeah, when I checked in St. Louis, they didn't even crack my bow case to see what was inside. It could have been a gun. They didn't. They didn't even
that wouldn't
bother.
have surprised them.
They didn't bother.
I always like flying out of St. Louis because when you're checked with that kind of stuff, because when you go to check it, they're all like you get fun conversations typically.
Yeah.
from
Good luck on your hunt.
But it's usually, African Americans that don't hunt as well, but they find it very interesting that you do. Oh, hell no.
I was so when I got to the Toronto airport when I was leaving, I just dropped off my rental car, and before I could get too far into the airport, I'm dragging my bow case, which has wheels on it. My suitcase is on top of it, and then I've got this cooler that could have a person inside, and my big hunting duffel on top of it. And you know how strong I am. I was struggling to wheel all that stuff in. It was super heavy and super unwieldy. A really nice Canadian couple saw me struggling to get up an escalator. They came over and they brought me a cart and they're like, here, you load all your stuff up and there's elevators over here. And
That's
super nice, super friendly.
How did you, on the cooler, did you tape it or like, how did you secure it from not coming open?
Jodel had some tape there at her desk, and so
masking tape.
It had Air Canada written all over it. So she asked me, she's like, "Will your cooler open?" I said, "Yeah." Do you want to look in? She's like, "No, I'm just wondering if it's gonna." I was like, "Well, if they load it right side up, it'll be fine. But if you got some tape, I'll gladly."
I was gonna say you can't trust that they're gonna load it right side up.
Keith and I were talking. He's like, "Well, just duct tape that thing real good at my house before you leave."
But
And
they're gonna
I was
want
like,
to open it,
they're gonna want to get inside, so it'll just undo all that. But yeah, back home, I'm gonna work on the pelt this weekend. I'm gonna take a power washer to it, clean it up, and get it salted. It's so luxurious. The bear fur is like 4 inches thick. It's just beautiful hide.
Is there anything you got to do to, like, were there bugs and ticks and like those kind of things in the fur?
There may have been
brought into your home,
but the kids are playing with it now. Before
I thought I saw Bo itching. It's got fleas now.
He's got a weird rash, but it's all good.
I'm joking.
Probably a little later in the season you would expect to see, but I was kind of looking because normally, like, when I kill a deer, which I do a lot, I look at them and see like where they got ticks behind their ears and stuff. I didn't see any parasites. I think really the parasites up there are the mosquitoes and the black flies. I think God kind of like levels things out across the world. And I think
ticks for them.
That's what they deal with. Yeah.
Bad enough.
Yeah.
Well, so how was the bear meat?
Bo, how was the bear meat? Okay, Bo said it tastes like venison, but really chewy. Poor Bo, I cut him off the wrong part. You have to cook bear meat to like 160, I think, for maybe 3 minutes.
Trichinosis.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And not every bear carries it, but you want to be careful. So it was my first time grilling a backstrap. I had marinated it for about a day in zesty Italian, then had basted it, and I scored it also. I don't normally score a venison backstrap, but I wanted to be sure I cooked it thoroughly. It definitely took a lot longer to cook because I like my venison backstraps medium rare.
Yeah.
And I was so tempted to, but bear is incredible. It's so good. Mikey did a bear meat poutine and it was fantastic. It's like the muscle fibers are like beef. It was like a really tender beef. So good. And you got to trim off the fat. The fat doesn't taste good at all.
Sure.
But man, it was so, and Bo got the end, the really thin end that burned a little bit and got a little chewy. So sorry, buddy.
Couldn't give him the middle piece, huh?
That's for daddy. Actually, if anyone ate the middle piece, it was me. Cause if someone got sick, I'd rather it be me. I was trying to give him like the most well-cooked piece and kind of backfired. But yeah, it's so good. And I know people have said different things about bear meat, at least at this area, at this time of year, this bear was nuts. And we ate some of Keith's while we were up there too. And it was so good.
Well, I'm sure I've heard like Cam Haynes talk about this, like people that know wherever he typically hunts and those folks know how to prepare it right and do all that. Like anything, I'm sure practice makes perfect. So you got up there, I'm sure it was very good because they're used to making it.
Yeah. The only bummer was because of the gut material that was in his abdomen, we didn't take the tenderloins out.
Yeah.
They stayed in there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, on the whole, we had moose while we were there. Moose is incredible.
Yeah. What's that compare to?
I don't know.
Horse.
No, I mean, I love horse too. I don't know. There's just no gaminess to it. It's just a really rich and tender
lean,
meat.
I guess.
Yeah,
lean.
it's definitely lean. I think they made they had moose sausage and then pulled moose for us. And frankly, they don't have whitetails up there. They're too far north for whitetails. But they've all eaten deer. They all deer hunt, and they're like, whitetails are kind of the trash of the the meat world. That as it relates to moose and bear.
La-di-da.
Yeah, I'm living large. If I had more time, I was gonna bring some. Maybe next week when we come up for a show.
Yeah,
I'll have time to prepare. I'll marinate something. We'll bring it up. We'll grill it out.
We were talking actually about doing a cookout here.
Yeah, perfect.
Coming up with the nice weather, so
yeah.
we will invite you.
You better, because it would be hey Tim, can you bring some bear meat? We're doing a cookout next week.
We don't want you to stay though.
It would be great if you could just drop it off. We'd appreciate that.
Alan, you're gonna be making some bear meat. Big bear.
I'll send them some recipes.
Okay.
So I'm a bear hunter now. If anyone has bear related questions, I'm pretty much an expert.
I could tell. So you came back a different man.
I've been consuming bear meat. You are what you eat.
Look kind of like you got trichinosis.
Drop a few pounds and not have to work at it.
Eat some of that.
Living large. Yeah.
Now that summer's here, I'm worried about the old diet.
Yeah, well, I'll get you some trichinosis going.
There you go. This segment of 100% Wild is brought to you by PH Outdoors. Check out the full line of the G Series and brand new M Series drills at phoutdoors.com.
So back to the original question on Matt and Tim's bad take is support for hunting on the decline.
So give us the backstory. Why don't you read that from the article here? Yeah,
so there was an article in Bowhunter magazine in 2024. 76% of adult Americans approved of legal hunting, a slight decline from 77% in 2023 and down 5% from 81% in 2021, according to the surveys conducted by Responsive Management for the Council to Advance Hunting and the Shooting Sports. So do you think approval for hunting in the U.S. is truly in decline, or is it social media and other factors leading the charge in false information?
So when you look at that decline, and the article, go check it out. Bowhunter magazine, it's online. The article showcases a lot more to it than this is just a quick synopsis. But if you looked into it, I think it was like that percentage of drop was, it equated to 2-point-something million people. And so when you start thinking about it along those lines, it's like, it might have been like 2.86 million or something like that. It's like, okay, because you're like, 5% is still pretty high, but
those are real people.
Yeah, it's definitely declining. And you ran into it there in the airport. Obviously that was up north, which kind of even more surprising. But it does happen, and in my opinion, for what that's worth, is little.
I mean, I value it.
I think it has a lot to do with the social media side of things. Mm-hmm. The stuff that I see, we try to be stewards of that aspect of it, knowing like what we put out is seen by a lot of people. Yeah. And so on social media, and that doesn't mean that they're just people that are in our bubble. It's people that are outside. It might get shared with people outside of our bubble, and you got to be cautious of how you represent what we do and yeah, and so I think the issue is in social media, the reality is that since anybody can put stuff out there, there's some not so great stuff that gets put out there. And the meme pages, for the amount of shit that they give the industry, I do think they're correct in that aspect of it, that they're trying to make sure that we are all better stewards of
it's a guardrail.
A guardrail, yeah. So I would agree with them on that aspect of it. I think it's the social media side, because there's so many people that have never been introduced to hunting in any way, shape, or form. You think about that lady that lives in Toronto.
Mhm.
No way, especially maybe she comes from a country where hunting's not even illegal or a thing. No way would she know anything about hunting other than her interaction with you, maybe.
Yeah.
She's like, well, maybe you did sway her a little bit because you didn't treat her like like she was treating you like a second-class citizen. Mm-hmm. You were treating her with like, well, actually, I'm going to feed my family for months with this, and we use
Do you hate my children?
That might have swayed her to at least, and the article goes through that, to at least be open to the idea that you do it. Mm-hmm. You're not trying to say you come do it. You're not trying to persuade her in that way, but you may have persuaded her to think, oh, okay, I understand why other people might do it. So that's, I think, the point of the conversation.
It brings up a component I never really thought of before until this trip. But when you think of immigration and people coming here without the same kind of upbringing that we did, a lady I sat next to was a doctor from Nepal on the trip back to St. Louis. And she was asking what I was doing in Canada. I was like, oh boy, here we go. We'll see where this goes. And it was very intentional to talk about how much I appreciated my time in nature and how much I appreciated seeing this incredible animal and putting my hands on it and how it's going to support my family and all these things. And she just she seemed to have a positive, because she had no background. I asked, well, what do people hunt in Nepal? She's like, well, a few people hunt for deer, but I don't know anyone that does. It's just some people can. So as as the world becomes a more global place, we have to be at least cognizant that there are people coming here that don't have a context for hunting. Yeah. And we may be their first contact with someone who does. And so that was another reason why I was so metered and try to be very friendly and kind and, whatever, when I talk to people, just because we make decisions kind of emotionally and how we feel about the people who do the things that we're thinking about.
Yeah.
So
I do think the numbers did surprise me a little bit from the aspect of I feel like in the last 5 years or so, with the guys like Joe Rogan, Meat Eater, which they get a lot of crap in the industry, within the industry as well, for maybe the business side of what they do. But the reality is that they are reaching via Netflix and his book series and their tour, they're reaching a lot of non-hunters, and he does a good job of the field to fork side of it. And I think it opens people's mind to what it could be. And it's not just trophy hunting and what their mind kind of a predisposition towards that. Rogan, obviously, guys like Cam Hain, Rogan romantic. Have you ever listened to any, it could be any of his podcasts. It could be any guest that he has on, nothing to do with hunting. And when he brings bow hunting up and elk hunting, it's a romanticized version. It's not reality to me and how I feel about hunting, or to you probably, and how you feel about hunting, but his romanticized version of it, I think, and how he viewed it, coming from being a non-hunter, I think it does help persuade people in a positive way of, like I said, they're maybe not going to go do it, but they're tolerant to people that do because of the way that he spoke about it or the picture that he paints. So it does surprise me a little bit that those numbers go down, because that guy's reaching, whatever, is it 300 million a podcast or whatever it is? It's ridiculous. I know that's the population of the country, but it's a huge, he's reaching mass numbers around the world. So it surprises me a little bit that it declines, because he's guys like him and Ranella, they make it such a favorable, put it in such a favorable light.
The thing that surprised me is just the overwhelming majority of Americans who apparently approve of hunting. And I guess that's because we live and breathe this stuff, and we deal with the people who, like the antis, pick up a post or something and they, take it to task. And so we probably deal with the far ends of the spectrum, and it's amplified a little bit.
Yep. All right. Well, so I guess we didn't, that was not really a bad take, I don't think, on that one, Tim.
Hey, thanks. Passing grade.
There you go.
Best we can hope for.
Nutrient Ag Solutions is a global leader in agriculture, providing farmers with high-quality products, expert advice, and innovative solutions. With over 160 years of experience, they're dedicated to helping growers maximize yields and build a sustainable future. Nutrient Ag Solutions, growing what's next.
All right, we got some new Rack Pack members. The Rack Pack's a private Facebook group. All you got to do is in the search bar on Facebook, type in 100% Wild Rack Pack. It'll come up, answer a few questions. We'll let you in. And it's a place for Tim to post about his shenanigans in the North. I thought you saw was it Tim Hortons or where were you? A gas station or something? A pizza?
The Little Caesars.
A Little Caesars. And so a gas station had a Little Caesars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone was like, we got those all over down here in South Carolina.
Idiot.
Made me laugh. I don't know.
The strangest things often do.
Yeah. The funniest things I find.
Well, anyways.
So you can go there and you can get that content for no cost.
Yeah.
Free.
We have some new members. We got Zach Krieg, Ryan Gonzalez, Spencer Duncan, Justin Day, Sean Pinkow. Pinkow. Sorry,
Yeah,
Sean.
welcome.
Had I butchered your last name. But in my defense, that's a strange way to spell it.
Perhaps you're spelling it wrong, Sean. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah.
Maybe you should.
All right. Well, congratulations. Awesome. I'm glad you had a great trip.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. I mean, what a great experience.
Oof. Yeah, 100%. Oh, and I didn't mention we caught a buttload of walleye.
Oh, did you?
Oh, my
I'm sure
gosh.
you were in heaven there.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I got to the point where I was okay. I've caught all the walleye I think I'm good with. It was
what kind of size are we talking?
anywhere from 16 to 20, 21 inches they were all about, you catch some small males that moved up into the river.
So they don't have any like the northern pike or any of those kind
They
of.
have a lot of northern pike. In fact, so many that they consider them more of a nuisance when you're trying to catch walleye.
Any of the bear hunts from the jury team members that have gone up there, I feel like they're always fishing for northern pike when they're in those areas, but I don't know where they're going.
Yeah, big northerns are a lot of fun. It's like kind of like catching a muskie. They're super aggressive. We were trying to catch some fish to eat, and walleye are probably one of the best. Between walleye and crappie, one of the best eating fish.
Any shore lunch or anything like that?
Yeah. We in fact the day it was like Thursday for lunch, they did fried walleye and bear poutine. And what else? There was something else, like a moose dish. So it was all locally sourced.
I'd be in heaven, man.
Food. And they were like, "Oh, Tim, are you gonna eat the poutine? Like, are you gonna?" Yes, I'm gonna.
All of it.
This is a cultural immersion. I'm gonna do it.
So they were thinking, because you're such a healthy nut, you're not going to eat all this fried food, and the poutine is
but that's part of
carved up, I'm sure.
I'd gone out for a run earlier that morning. I did a 10-miler.
Never stops.
Well, and I kept looking behind me because I'm like, Timberwolves. I don't know what I could have done.
Heat? Guess you can't.
Yeah, I mean, they said that they see these things every now and again. They're super elusive. And the bear just run whenever they see people. They just run.
I'd be too scared.
But the Timberwolves, that was more of a concern.
Yeah. I thought Bo was laughing at me. He was coughing.
Or choking on a starburst. Wouldn't that be something? What are you going to do?
Gotta learn someday.
Yeah. That's how you breathe.
Well, awesome, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And that show will air sometime in January or February.
In Canada.
On Canada in the Rough. They are also on Sportsman's channel.
Awesome. So we'll air down here.
So I think in select northern states, I think there's like a regional distribution that they have.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, those guys are total class acts, and it was funny just seeing the celebrity status they have.
One last question: were they indeed the Canadian version of Mark and Terry Drury? I guess you were just with Keith, but
they were definitely Canadian.
So they were nicer.
But Mark and Terry,
no cussing.
Mark and Terry are a cut to themselves.
That's a nice way to say it.
Yep.
All right. Until next time, I think
All
that's
right.
enough for today. Peace out.
See yous.
DeerCast is completely updated and better than ever. Prep, predict, and pursue your target buck with our detailed maps, weather, and 14-day movement predictor.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast Maps, waypoints, weather, virtual rain gauges, and more. Every tool you need to get ahead of your game.